We are live. How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the Cause and Effect podcast, where we introduce the cause and effect relationships that exist in golf in relation to the hand to handle to club relationship. This is episode 8, which is so wild. I mean, when we started this, we just wanted a kind of a place to nerd out and talk about the golf swing, and now here we are, 8 episodes in. It's pretty awesome. So, golf's still booming. Everybody's freaking out about the Live Tour.
Definitely.
Yeah, everybody's kind of been thrown for a loop with that, and the traditionalists have been kind of freaking out. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think it's kind of cool that at least they can play in the majors still, right? Like DeChambeau was able to play in that and stuff like so. I mean, that's awesome. And
I think the PGA Tour's got to merge with it or something. Like they're losing all their players.
I think I think it's kind of a thing where if the players want to get it. Or like go and play golf basically for like more money and have to like actually do as much.
Yeah.
Like then
let them
exactly. Like whatever.
Right.
People just want to go watch them and like they appreciate it that much.
Right.
So it's like, okay, good for you.
I had an interesting.
Last thing what I would say is that like when it comes to the PGA though, and playing for the PGA of America, like or being a PGA Tour player.
Yeah.
I think it kind of gives you a little different like stature. Like if you can compete now on the PGA Tour, then you are the best in the world.
Right.
Like, and a lot of these people are like, well,
if you say like, really I'm competing on the Live Tour, it's like, well, you're probably not like the best in the world.
Or you might be. You might be.
Maybe it's changing.
Or maybe it'll help you in that way.
Yeah, maybe.
As a player, but I think that some of these guys get so worn out because these guys are working so hard and can compete and do like all the practicing and the extra work needed to. Because, look at the average age, basically, I would say, for the average winner, like in the last couple of years, right? There's a few older guys that have won. Yeah. But, for the most part, though, these younger guys are just, like, taking over.
Yeah, and I thought it was really cool. Like, I watched DeChambeau did, like, something on his YouTube, and he, like, basically documented his whole kind of, like, week of the tournament. Like, he did his practice round, first round, second round, only 3 rounds. They only play 3 rounds. They don't play 72 holes. And I just thought it was really cool. It was like a behind the scenes of, like, I've never seen a PGA Tour event, like behind the scenes.
Yeah, it's
or
cool.
Something like that. So I thought it was like a really cool, I don't know, just like peek behind the curtain and just see like, hey, what's going on like at these tournaments? Like how much are they thinking about their swings or like working on these different things?
Victor Hovland said going into this championship or the British Open, he said, I didn't feel comfortable with my game at all, really.
Yeah.
And he said, I just kind of went in and just said, I'm just going to like, just try to play my best and see what happens. And sometimes it happens to where you actually play your best golf when you have lower expectations in a certain sense.
Right. Absolutely.
Like if you expect to win a tournament, it can, in a sense, cause you more anxiety when you have bad shots or something. Yeah. And it just like starts messing with your mind.
You always see that too. Like, Matthew Wolff, he was struggling when he was on the PGA Tour and he's now on the Live. And he's kind of just lowered his expectations. He said it was really causing him like a lot of like
I can
anxiety.
Imagine, yeah,
and
the traveling, the
we were talking about that last
and,
episode, like the anxiety and like the mental health and everything of golf. Golf is, golf's hard enough, just like playing with your buddies and getting like heckled and you're in front of in the main stage in front of millions of people.
Right. It's a different level.
That's different. And you're under a microscope and and especially too with Matthew Wolff, he's being compared to like Morikawa and Hovland, and here comes Morikawa winning 2 majors in his first 2 years. It's like, it's wild.
Yeah.
And Matthew Wolff's like, oh, I thought I was supposed to be the guy, and now he's just not.
Yeah.
But yeah, who knows? I think
I think that again, like go back to like Matthew Wolff. I think that this tour is going to be awesome for them because they can maybe again without the pressure of constantly have to play maybe every week or every 2 weeks, even like they can get a more relaxed schedule. And then when they do play, they can really give it their all. And then, then in the, the majors, who knows, then these guys might start actually like, start winning more or something and then decide to come back to the PGA Tour. Who knows?
Who knows?
I don't know how that all works, but logistically.
I don't know. I'm just a fan of golf. Like I don't watch the PGA. I don't watch golf because it's the PGA Tour. I watch it because I like the players and I like watching them and I like their swings and I don't know, now that I understand the swing a lot more, I watch all these like little different things and I hope with the awareness that we're starting to bring and in this podcast, we're going to talk a lot about like the tour players and what they're doing, how they're actually using their claws. We talk a lot about, me and you talk about the claws. We talk about static claws and dynamic claws. So, I mean, static is basically, I mean,
Your grip is
self-explanatory
set up.
grip.
Right.
And also feet claws too. So static feet claws are like your connection to the ground,
Correct.
right? And then dynamic would be like how you're using your hand claws and then how you're using your feet to go with that, right?
Sure.
But I just think it's cool because now when I'm watching like golf, I just see all these different things that most
Yeah.
people like I
Well-
never really knew about when I watched golf like as a kid
Sure.
until I met you, and I was like, oh gosh, this is wild now.
It's obvious. So like with
Yeah.
that claw video we did with the obvious thing, thanks for all the followers and stuff too, by the way. But obviously,
Obvious.
I mean, honestly though,
right.
it is like everything's hidden in plain sight.
Yeah,
like, but
exactly.
once you like see it and understand it, it's like, oh, cool.
Right.
And then it just makes it easier
It's
for you
fun.
to like understand it.
Yeah, it's fun as like a viewer. Like,
Yeah,
oh, cool.
yeah.
Now you're watching, I don't know. I
Instead
feel
of
like
just watching a tournament just
Yeah.
to watch it, it's like you're actually able to like analyze the players, what they're doing, and see
Right.
what they're doing, and be like, oh, maybe that's something like that would actually work better for me because it's like maybe more simple or something,
Correct.
or just more like you see so many people doing the same type of things in a sense, right?
Right.
And then you're like, oh, okay, like that makes sense more so.
Right.
But then you go to follow us because we're going to give you the information of how to do it. So
Yeah, I think we're just opening people's eyes up to a
Yeah.
lot of, I mean, that's our goal. That's what we're trying to do, right? Is we're just trying to open up people's eyes to like, hey, this is what's going on. Like,
right.
I'm sorry. I know you think that the body's controlling everything and this is what's going on, but it's just not the reality of the situation.
And it does in some cases more so. But when you think about the influence of, even if like we'll look at a tour player, and let's just say like we're going to talk about 3 people today.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about Cam Smith, Rory McIlroy,
And Cam Young.
And Cam Young.
Yeah.
Yes. So when you look at them all, they all have really good grips, of course. When you think about like when they push pull in their backswing, Rory McIlroy, I think he does it. He does it to where the we'll say that he doesn't activate the pull actually until his lead arm gets parallel to the ground in his backswing. That's when he like pulls. So when we talked about like his short game and everything, about maybe how he could improve with his consistency with like his wedges, then it's like you gotta like allow that trail arm, in my opinion, to either bend or you're gonna have to really like not use your legs at all. Like,
Right.
If you're using any legs, it's gonna be so hard to control that because you're too steep.
Yeah, like if you looked at a
Because-
guy like Steve Stricker that was a
Right.
good wedge player, like he didn't have an aggressive lower body move, so
Correct.
he was able to make that kind of
Absolutely.
work, right? Yeah.
Right. But with Rory, when he goes or when he activates the pull when his lead arm's parallel to the ground, his backswing, he basically has the best pull ever with the perfect like we'll say he has like a little bit of external trail arm rotation and a little bit of internal, and he gets the triangle to the perfect spot. Perfect connection with the arms and everything. Then from there, he has that compression move where he drives basically a swing triangle. Like think about the underparts of your hands like this, and it's like a karate chop down,
Right.
but on like the 45, not straight down. And then he does his leg move, and then from there, then he springs back with his hips, drives the hands, and
Right.
he has that whole reverse rotation, move with his hips, which is really cool. But
1 minute. Okay, cool. So yeah, we talked about, I mean, watching golf this past weekend. I mean, at the Open. I mean, it was awesome. I mean, it was my first time actually watching like golf in a while. I've been busy with teaching and doing all the
Yeah, me
stuff we're
too.
doing with Claw, and you've been busy too with your art project and everything we're doing with Claw. But it was just Cam Smith. I mean, 264s. I mean, that's just so.
Yeah.
I mean, he was so automatic. Like he looked so good. His putting stroke is incredible.
it's the
Like,
I mean
his
that's
short
the biggest
game-
reason that you want it.
Oh,
Honestly,
absolutely.
like for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
But his consistency, like, can you just like walk me through like what he does in his golf swing that makes him so good? Like, walk me through his grip, like what he actually does in his swing. He is a little bit kind of across the line, kind of a technical term,
close
but
to it.
yeah.
It's like
so walk me through that.
so he basically, when he starts to club back, he allows the hands and the handle to go slightly inward, or we'll say like up to the takeaway position, and then from there he goes straight up with his hands and arms. He has a little bit of flexion in his lead wrist, which is why the face is a little bit shut. But he gets a little across the line like with driver.
Yeah.
But the shorter the club gets, the more on like like perfectly in line the club is to like parallel to the target line.
Right. So,
but the face is though still a little shut relative to like his lead wrist because of what he's doing. But from there, he keeps his arms in front of his body quite a bit, and he is very quiet with his lower body action, and he kind of squats down from the top and then just brings the club down, punches, kind of works the handle down the toe line, and then it goes straight back up.
Right. And when he goes straight back up, I mean, he could hold that finish through like a hurricane.
Because he has like a lot of backward bend with his spine. You know, more like you would see in the older days, like with Greg Norman
like
or
the
Seve,
reverse C,
like the reverse C finish, right. So that allows him to keep the handle moving down, even though he's like punching down his toe line and maybe even a little inward to keep the face square because it was shut in the backswing, like when it comes down to like his lag move. And then he can just spring back upward, and that allows him to keep the face, you know, square so it doesn't shut, which is why you mentioned earlier, we were talking about it, and, you know, he likes to play a fade more off the tee.
Correct.
Because it makes sense. If you have more of a square face or a little shut, and then you can hold it off more, it's somewhat, you know, more predictable with the longer clubs, we'll say.
Right.
But obviously, when you look at his wedge game, I love how we seen a video of him hitting lead hand only chips.
That was so
and
cool.
everything. And it's like, that's what you need. And he had a little bit of like, you can see push pull with the lead wrist.
Yeah.
When he was going back just to get a little leverage. And then when he came through, he just kept pushing, a little bit of leg action, rotation, keep the handle moving. But he also let it rehinge back up too, as well. So that's really important with keeping that palm pressure down, like with the beach ball videos that we're trying to explain to people.
The
like,
beach ball,
that's it.
That's been such a, I mean, yeah, appreciate all the support we've been getting on all those videos. And I really think that's just the best visualization for the golf swing. And when you look at Cam Smith, when he kind of goes to that takeaway, you can see him like he pushes
really well in the takeaway.
Yeah.
But then from there, he just really keeps pushing, has a perfect rotation, doesn't really fully like anything about like how much you're really trying to physically turn your body. He turns more of his shoulders, not his hips as much.
Yeah.
A little bit more of the like X factor effect to the top. And then and when he starts his downswing, his lead arm does not get straight until his lead arm is parallel to the ground in his downswing, right? So like at the top, his lead arm has a little bit of bend, very little, but it doesn't get straight until that, you know, lead arm parallel to the ground position. And also when we were looking at Max Homa, same exact thing. And we're seeing that Matthew Fitzpatrick, he had the same exact move. Zalatoris, same exact thing.
Right.
So this is a common trend for sure. And it makes sense. I mean, you know, when you think about like the pressures of like keeping your elbows perfectly locked, like Rory does not let his lead arm like bend at all throughout any point in your swing. And in my opinion, that's how the best way to create perfect like control of your sternum throughout the swing and maximize speed and consistency, right? But if Rory just, again, if he didn't keep the right arm so locked and just like push pull just a little quicker in the wedges,
a little bit
I really
more.
think that honestly he would be winning every tournament.
Man, because he's driving.
That's a big topic though.
He was driving us so far, and it's like you have such an advantage if your wedge game is just a little bit better. He wins that tournament by like 5 or 6.
Right.
But he had such an advantage. But yeah, I thought it was really wild. Like you watch, I'm seeing a ton of similarities, like you said, with Fitzpatrick and Cam Smith and Cam Young, is that when we talk about like the push pull, right, with the pushing and the pulling, is they don't really pull a ton, right? They're not getting like that index finger, like
so just think of it this way, like when we're talking about this, these people are keeping their claws together perfectly for connection. And imagine like the energy shooting out of your fingertips right away from you. That keeps a certain stretch. So like at setup, you have that kind of locked in already if you have your claws, which they do.
Right.
And then from there, if you just keep them stretched and then you start rotating your shoulders, but you're still pushing down and out and away with finger extension like this. You're not just like floating your hands and arms.
Yes.
So even though sometimes it might look like they are, it's more that they're actually lagging the ulnar deviation in their wrist more to create more of an increase in lag in the downswing. And a perfect, example of that swing would be is Gary Woodland. Like I would say him and Kokrak.
Yeah.
Because those guys,
the float load.
guys. So when you say float load though, here's the thing though.
What is that?
you're not floating your hands. Okay, it's not like there's no pressure. So I think floating might be a bad terminology with understanding, right? We're using ulnar deviation down with the wrist. So it's like you're actually taking like your index fingers and pointing them down and keeping it firm, as well as the interconnection here. Because then when you go up and you increase, everything is perfect here. And all you have to do is push back down and then release as normal. Like,
so I mean, you're seeing it it's common with a lot of good players right now. I mean, Cam Young does it. Cam Young gets to the top of the swing and he comes to a complete stop almost. Like I think his club does stop.
He actually does. He said he worked on that. And I would say when I watched the Open, there was a few swings he took that he hit really well. And I would say it was a hard second.
Yeah.
And honestly, I'm a huge advocate for that. Like,
me too.
Actually, when I played golf, like the last few years, that was one of my biggest keys was being able to stop at the top and then being able to hit it from there. Because in your mind, you're thinking everything comes to a stop. So it's like, where's the energy coming from?
Right.
If you get the hands and arms going, if they're levered back properly, and then you can drive the club to a certain destination, which is post impact.
Right.
And that's it. I mean, you start with your feet and knees and just drive the club, and that's it. And the body takes care of itself from there.
Right.
But again, also back to this whole idea with the like the max ulnar thing. The idea, though, that we want people to understand is that it's really hard to get your short game right. And that's the really big thing.
Got it.
So we're going to talk about a couple influencers. Or like we have one main guy here. There's one main influencer. Yeah.
Nadeshot. Shout out Nadeshot.
Yeah.
Like I saw that he liked one of our videos. I mean, I followed Nadeshot for a while back in like old Optic days, and now seeing what he's doing with 100 Thieves, and he's a huge golfer, and we studied his swing, and I wanted Jonathan to really look at it because I mean, in the off chance that he actually sees it, he's really close. Like, just walk us through like what he needs to do.
So your trail palm is a little bit too far down away from your lead thumb knuckle. So you just need to slide it up to where like right where your wrist meets your palm. Like when you look at like the curve under your like palm pad here, you're gonna like place it right up against like the knuckle of your thumb here. So once you get it up there, it's like your fingers should actually be pretty much in the exact same distance apart, right? Or like every finger's gonna be the same distance apart. So then from there, you just curl and you do your normal grip. And then that connection, though, is going to allow the club to get more up into your pinch between your thumb, like inside part of your lead thumb. I'm sorry. So it's going to be up more in your pinch of the inside of your trail thumb and your trail index finger. And by doing that, then it's going to allow you to be able to lever the club easier with your push-pull in the backswing. Because the biggest thing we noticed was that you were kind of late with your set and you were kind of swaying a little bit to the right. Not bad, but you were late with that set. And the more that you kind of drag the energy away, like with the handle away from your body when you go back like laterally, it's just so easy to get kind of caught behind it. And that's why you're having contact problems. And so my analyst is that we get that grip right, and then we push-pull more. Like when your lead arm gets parallel to the ground in your backswing, there should be a 90-degree angle between lead arm and shaft. And then from there, just don't even think about moving your lead arm any further back in your backswing. Just increase your push-pull to the max, and then just stick your finish to right field. We'll say like from down your target line or your toe line, that's like parallel, and like 45 degrees to the right. Try to leave your club head as low to the ground as you possibly can, and leave it to where like when you get to post impact, when the shaft gets back parallel to the ground and your follow through, you want to try to bring it like right back down to that position. Right. And what that's going to do is between you getting your push-pull better, like that's going to give you more lag, because you were kind of casting a little bit because of the backswing, move.
And because of the
body
grip
positioning too, and grip.
Like,
I mean,
the
it's all
grip
stemmed.
It's like the root problem, right?
For sure.
Like, because if he gets that trail hand like down too much, then like you were saying, the ulnar,
it's so not as effective,
right? So it's hard for him to feel that push pull. But if he gets
the lead thumb is against the trail palm pad, it's easier to naturally lever like with radial and actually do the push pull. It's so much more effective, and then your elbows are together, and then so your backswing is going to shorten by, I would say, a quarter, even though you could think of taking a half backswing with what we're talking about and just max lever right away. And honestly, you'd be hitting the ball further than you've ever hit it. Like your 3-wood's going to be going 250 instead of just over 200. So
we saw your video. With
the idea though is this though is because of the backswing, you know, and the grip and stuff. Like, so the lag problem with you casting a little bit will be fixed by getting the radial and then by sticking the finish. If you get your proper lever in the backswing and focusing on your post impact and trying to leave the club head down and out, and you actually, like, we'll say this, you hit a shot, the club's going to kick back up and do whatever, but you're going to pull it right back down and try to get it back parallel on the 45 to your target line. And the funny thing is that you'll see your club start doing some things maybe, and then you'll realize then like what's actually the problem.
Right.
Like you'll see it maybe kicking left a little bit, or you're not able to keep it down enough. And then it's like, okay, now that's how we properly self-analyze and correct.
Correct.
And that's basically the simplest way to then get your move going.
Because I saw like in one of the videos, and he was talking about how he didn't really want to use his hands in the golf swing because he was told that, I mean, if you use your wrists, that's not a good swing. And I think that's not probably the best information that he was getting.
It's just the proper usage of the hands.
Exactly.
That's really it. I mean,
right? Like, why are there so these people that just think like, oh, you don't want to use your hands, like don't get handsy. Like, remember our first podcast, we were talking like, we want to be handsy. We're gonna do those shirts that
proper
we were talking about, right?
Handsiness is perfection.
Right, we're handsy and we're proud, right?
That's right.
Remember
that's
the T-shirts we were gonna do? We'll eventually do those because I think those would actually be really funny. And then just maybe have like handler or something with like hands trying to grab him or something. I don't know. Just really funny.
And just to verify that again too, when people are talking about handsy in a bad way, it's because they're flipping or they don't have proper connection.
Right.
So it's like we're teaching the opposite: proper claws, proper usage, push, pull, twist, extension, flexion.
Correct.
You know, whatever. That's
like creating that. I like how when we talk about this a lot, we say about like the tauntness of like your
swing
hands
triangle
to the handle, and then that swing triangle, and then whatever you do here is going to influence what's going on with your body and with the club. But if this connection's off at any point, whether it's creating that connection, like you said last episode with the train, like if that link falls apart, you're toast.
Exactly.
So I think with Nadeshot, if he gets a little bit better with that trail palm connected to lead thumb knuckle,
then when you go back, just even feel like you even drain just a little bit of water out of your lead ear when you do it. So as you push pull and get the club head working up and back towards you more, just feel like you drain a little water out of your lead ear to where it allows you to tilt a little bit. That'll allow you to turn, but that will also give you the only amount of body conscious movement you need relative to the levering of your hands and arms in the club.
Right.
The hips and everything will move properly. And then from the top, just basically stay patient and then just stick your finish to right field and try not to really move your body much. Let the club, once it lags and then releases, like let that momentum then pull you through. But really, you're just trying to, again, keep your head like, you know, perfectly centered too.
Right.
Right. So it's like when we talked earlier about the foot claws. So it's like imagine that you have like a circle around your feet. It's like, and that's planted to the ground. Anchored. Then you've got your claws together and there's like a circle around them, holding them together. And then it's like around your elbows as well. And then if we have our head, right, as a circle, it's like, that's it. And then we got the ball as well. But we'll say in alignment, though, of these three with the body.
Right.
And then if like that stays consistently centered throughout the move, then we can perfect how we are doing the push, pull, and twist and everything. Because if there's any flaw in those three alignments, there's going to be a drastic effect.
Right. It's like the crosshair thing, right?
Right.
Like if one of those quadrants of
especially
the crosshair,
like the lateral movements, that's where it becomes a real problem.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's where these pressures of extent, like when you look at pros, like the pros keep their arms like straighter than, of course, amateurs. Like one of the most obvious things, and yet their hands lean and impact, right? But when you think about it, like really, what is it that is allowing them to do that?
It's the claws.
Yeah.
And it's how they're actually pushing against that. It's the beach ball. Like,
that's it. You can try to mimic the move with your arms and hands and body as much as you want, but if your claws aren't there, like you're just a lost cause, really.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Lost claws are a lost cause. So yeah, one of these times we're gonna do an episode where we just go out like on the lake here and just go like put a beach ball out there and just simulate it because and I mean, man, I want people to feel the amount of like pressure that you have to exert to get that beach ball like go under the water. But you also like you don't want that beach ball to like slide off your claws
There's
when you do
a
it,
specific
right?
path that
There's
we're
like
trying to direct it.
Exactly. It's like, it's almost imagining that the beach ball's on like a track, right? And then your job is to keep the beach ball on that track. And
if the track is like a half circle,
Exactly.
it's like, how do you keep it in there? It's like, once you get to here, it's like, if I go straight up, I'm going off the track. It's like, I've got to let it rotate a little bit to get it back all the way.
Yeah, and it's like a little like ramp just as it exits the water, and it's like, whew, and then that like throws it up over your trail shoulder, and then like dunk it, get it back on the rails, which would be like the perfect pre-impact position. And then I loved when I was doing that video of talking about how once you get that beach ball under the water and you dunk it under the water at pre-impact, in order to get that beach ball from pre to post impact, the amount of energy that you have to exert to kind of get it through that resistance of the water kind of like pushing and pulling against it, right? That trail arm has to straighten.
Yes.
And that was a big kind of light bulb moment for me as I was saying it in those videos. It was like, that's it.
And if your lead hand is and arm are doing like the proper thing as the front end, like when it comes down to the the train, right? With lead hand being the front side, we got the trail hand as the caboose.
Correct.
And it's like, if they're both doing the proper thing to guide the handle through, then you're going to be able to just bust through the, if you think about like it's almost like an oncoming river constantly in the downswing, and you're trying to drive it as hard as you can, but they both have to push all the way through in order for your boat to possibly skip through. Otherwise you're getting tipped back over or like offline.
There's so many visuals that once you understand like the role of each hand and how the claws are pushing and how that is influencing what the handle's doing, like you just have to understand how to use the handle. Like that's the secret. Like that's what every tour player understands. That's why they're so good. That's why they have incredible short games. That's why they can hit these shots with one hand. I mean, look at like John Daly. He like takes these.
Oh, he's been known for that with also like a cigar or a beer in the other hand. And he would flip hands and then like hit shots with the other hand.
But they're just so conscious of like what their hands are doing.
Right.
And it's like, why are we talking about all this stuff with like flexion, and you see all these things with it's like squatting into the ground and like trying to jump off the ground. Like that's just not gonna work. It's just not.
Well,
like,
when you think about the compressioning parts or like the unique like footwork, these guys are trying to do it to maximize their distance for like their capabilities.
Yeah.
But when it comes down to like the lead hand only and trail hand only drills, I would say that almost every single tour player, I would think so, would probably be practicing those.
I agree.
I mean, honestly.
I agree.
Because every one of them needs to have both hands educated properly. Like one hand can't be dumb or dumber than the other, because then it's like, or I mean it can, and then it's not going to be so good sometimes. So
that's why I like Mike Bender. I like his content a lot, and he talks about educated hands. And he gets it. I mean, you said when you talked to him when you're at the golf academy, you said it's like a 1-2 punch. Right. I mean, it's here,
don't think about the golf swing as a swing.
Boom.
It's like you're punching like 1-2, and that made total sense. It made a lot easier for me to understand how I'm not moving my body so much consciously.
Right. Yeah. If people understood, I mean, between the 1-2 punch and the beach ball under the water,
or
like,
just
you
like
don't have to
the
move.
simple levering though. It's like, when you think about 1-2 punch, like all you have to do is like you set your trail hand and arm back like this in front of your chest, and then you just pull it back as far as you go. Like it doesn't take very far before all of a sudden that acceleration back to the ball, like by the time your trail arm is parallel to the ground, basically in your backswing, that's all you really need.
Right.
And then the more you twist and hinge, like you've got a perfect, like you could take a baseball. That was another drill I actually used to do. Is cool. Is like you put a golf ball out in front of you, like the distance that your club would be, and basically like perfectly middle in your stance, right? And take golf ball and try to hit that golf ball with the golf ball in your hand. It's like a baseball pitcher move. You've got to get the perfect external rotation and like keep the pinch perfect, and then to be able to catapult it perfectly back to the ball.
Got it.
And
that makes sense.
And if you do that as discretion, just make sure that you're aware that the ball could possibly bounce straight back at you too. So if you're doing it, just keep like be aware. But it is a great.
We're not
it's a great drill.
responsible for any of
it's a great drill though.
Things that happen with that. But okay, one more influencer. I had you take a look at his swing. Joey Coldcut.
Yeah. So this guy, I like his move though. His lag move, honestly, is tour-esque.
It's really good.
So the problem in his move is that his So he's a lefty.
Yeah.
So his, trail hand, basically his pinch, his thumb is too far down the shaft. So we need to shorten that up. I would say his trail palm also more up against his lead thumb knuckle, a little bit higher.
Unify the hands better.
And then the same thing as normal, pretty much. So actually what he does in a different way, in a certain sense, is that he actually uses more of like a sideways, I call this like kind of setting your wrist more, because it's like more of just again a sideways flexion extension action, opposed to like any vertical.
Right.
So what happens is when he does this, is it like pulls his trail elbow a little bit behind his body. And then from the top, he has an amazing lag move with his increase with radial and his push-pull. But then when he comes through, he has to really, like, you can tell he's really trying to use a lot of like leg work and body to try to like get the face like timed. But really, he doesn't need to move. Like, I would say, like, stay flat-footed and just roll your feet. Imagine like just rolling to the instep of your trail foot and trying to keep your like trail heel on the ground until like your follow through. And what'll happen is with your lag that you have, if you can just snap down, get your elbows stay locked, because you're going to get them more extended and everything perfectly locked because of your new grip and you push pull, right?
Yes.
But that will allow him then to get to that perfect finish. Like, it'll feel like the finishes trail arm parallel to the ground, your follow through, and you just get to there and you'll be hitting the ball as far, probably further than what you're doing. Because
it'll fix his bunker game too, because his bunker game is not the best.
I guarantee you're moving way too much with those feet, because in bunkers you gotta get a wide stance, bury the feet in, and understand how to thump the trailing edge. But body movement is the worst thing you can do in a bunker.
And just not being able to put. You got to be able to. You got to use your
push pull is so important,
especially in a bunker.
In order to be able to splash and get that acceleration, like they say, striking a match, like at the bottom of the swing. It's that's really what you want to think of. Is like it's all fast at the bottom, but the control has to be there. You're just not snapping like cracking a whip at it, because then it may be going 80 yards after that instead of 20. But
yeah, exactly.
Got to be able to push, basically. That's
correct. Yeah. So basically his arms, that's why his arms get like so like kind of into his body at the top of the swing, right? Because I always notice, like, when I'm watching, shout out Bob Does Sports. We'll do Robbie Berger next time. But yeah, his arms get like so close to his body that from there, it's like he does this lag move, but it's like steep, and it's like he needs a little more like what we call width,
right? Which is from the push.
Right?
Well, and you think too, imagine like when you look at like a perfect splash like out of the sand.
Oh no, just in general. I'm talking just as full swing.
For sure though. But like in that like sense though, and all those bunker players out there that are like trying to get some advice, on try to improve your bunker game, we'll say, basically think about like how it's like a trough, right? So like when you're coming in, it makes sense that if you're pushing down with the underparts of your hands, with how it basically keeps the heel leading the toe, like it allows the face to come in and create that perfect splash. But if you think about if you're going back and you're coming in like trying to like ulnar down or whatever, it's like, even if you're trying to ulnar down from the side on like a 45, good luck with that too. Like, it's just not going to work. Like, if you're not pushing down with your palms on the right angle, you're never going to be a good bunker player.
Yeah, see, this is why it blows my mind that Rory is such a good bunker player. It's like, why don't
because
you just
he can create so much speed.
Right.
That's the thing is, though, it's easier for him because he'd almost rather have sand than grass.
Right.
Because once he compresses the ball, it goes a lot further.
Man, like his bunker game, I honestly feel like Rory has the best bunker game out of like any tour player. His bunker game's incredible.
It's good. No, it is.
I'm super impressed. Sure. So out of all the tour players, and we've talked about this a lot, I think Rory has the best claws. Like the best.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Like the best connection.
He has the best locked elbows.
Yeah.
He locks his trail arm actually right now in the game, I'd say, as much or more than DJ. And
but because he's pushing, like we were talking earlier downstairs, it's like he's pushing so hard with that trail palm against that lead thumb knuckle.
Right.
And then that locks his elbows, and that allows him to kind of feel that.
When you look at Roy too in the swing, like his trail arm is locked. Like when you go, I mean, it bends like to here, to his top, and then it'll bend a little bit more in his transition. But then when he comes in though, I mean, it stays like, it's not like it goes like this. He keeps it very like firm. So because he drives, it's almost it's the karate chop move.
Yeah, I like that.
He's driving down so hard with this action, and that allows the body to compress down, that then it's like now it's time for the palms to push.
See, don't you think like that compression of the body, like compressing into the ground, is more of the effect of just like how much you're push-pulling and how much you're actually pushing against the handle?
I would say like if you're using like a 10-pound medicine ball, like that's pretty much the feeling he has in his swing, like as if he was swinging that.
Right.
Like, because that's the amount of weight and force that he gets. But that's why for his size, he hits it so far.
See, the only gripe I really have with Rory's swing is that because he doesn't like push pull enough to start his swing, is that his arms get a little bit like behind him, and his club gets too across the line, in my opinion, and his trail elbow gets a little bit stuck behind him.
Early in his swing, not late in his swing.
No, early.
Yeah, so that's where his short game we feel like is a problem. Like, because he's just too steep. He's a little bit too steep, and he uses his body a lot. And I think he uses his body a lot to try to help shallow the club. But why don't we just get the club on plane, just push, pull back just a little bit more this way, opposed to straight up and like this, like as long. Like that little tweak right there could be like a complete game changer.
Absolutely.
And I also think he could tuck his elbows under a little more with his alligator elbows and putting. So, but otherwise.
Oh, and putting?
I think he's like too much, like he's got his elbows in, but I feel like he's too much like this pushing. He's not pushing like this.
Oh, okay.
Like enough. Like it needs to be like under more.
I liked what you said in that one episode, and I saw this, like we talked about this a couple episodes back, but I want to hear you talk about it a little bit more, because just for me, like I was watching a couple clips last night, and I thought it was really interesting how you said, like when you learn putting, you basically are learning like the inner arm connection and like what we call like alligator arms. And then from there, once you learn that kind of inner connection with like the under parts of your arms, you translate that into the full shots.
Right.
You just change like your handle like position, and then that like gets your lead arm a little straighter. Yeah. Can we
it goes
just like
from here to like, so here's like palm to palm, elbows like, you know, tucked in front of the chest as much as possible.
So that would be like alligator arms is what you're
to
in
the
right
max,
now?
but like if you let it turn in 45, but you don't like, you even go even tighter like with the inner arms, that's the perfect like alligator arms.
Okay.
Right. And the fingers pressure is straight away, but it's everything is like inside with the, you know, like inner forearm pressure.
Correct.
Connected to the chest.
Got it.
And then from there, it's like, okay, if I want to do a grip, it's like put your like palms together, lock the elbows straight out, and then you can go through like your weak grip where you just basically take your lead hand claw and claw it, and then you turn your trail hand claw about 10, 15 degrees to the right, and it's like, there's your grip.
Right.
And then like you go back to neutral. It's like for a neutral grip, you're going to turn that lead hand claw about 10 degrees, trail hand about 15. There's your neutral grip.
Got it.
And then for a strong, you're going like about 20 to 25 degrees with the trail hand. And I mean, really, I think the best way to learn the trail hand is going palm on top, like lead hand, palm facing the ground, and then trail hand palm facing up. Like just to go, I mean, really, if you think about it, because it's like from vertical, in between, and then we got the extreme, which is, you know, weak, neutral, and strong. But like from the clock system, though, that is really like more of the easiest way to like understand the generic idea of what it is. Because then, once you get the claws here, once you address the club, or like, and you go to bend forward, and you have some little bit of ulnar deviation, like in there from the extension of the arms down to the club and the ground, it's going to naturally make your grip not look like it's palm, like lead hand palm facing down. Like it's going to then turn it to where it's at that 25-degree mark roughly.
I found, I was working on this a little bit last night, and I played this morning and played really well. But just the trail palm pushing like up this way, and like my lead thumb pushing down, and just feeling like that pressure where it's like the opposing pressure where it's like this is going this way and this is going this way. And like once you feel that, it's like that's really like what we were talking about with the claws, right? Because once you feel that pressure, then it's like, okay, now you just kind of turn that. Once you get it here, it's like, I think starting
there's two
like
big
this,
points there. It's like that's your takeaway and that's your pre-impact move, basically.
Right, exactly.
All we gotta do is basically take that back and get back to here on the other side with the same exact move.
Right. So it's like once you get this, it's like, okay, where do you want to start? You, like you said, you can go here, here, or here. But yeah, it's just that under that trail arm being like pinned under here.
Yeah.
And it's like this is almost like a wall that's like preventing you from swinging like to the left or kind of coming out of tilt and things like that. And then now once you have that wall and you got your lead side like braced coming into the ball, now it's like, okay, push the beach ball through from pre to post impact, and that's kind of it.
Right.
And it's just going to like rebound right back up at you, and then you're done.
Mo Norman said that you take the butt into the club from the top of the swing. He said in the downswing to post impact, you start pointing the butt into the club straight back up to the sky. And he said, just hold it to the sky all the way to the finish.
He did that drill where he like took it and like dropped it in his hands, right?
Yeah. But the idea though of why that actually is true is because you can try to drive the under part of your lead hand all the way through to your full finish. And because of the way your body has to naturally tilt backwards to support it, it creates the swing wall. And then the gear effect of your trail hand naturally going to have lag, and then being able to release, like, because it has the perfect, like, longest brace. Eventually it will turn over, and then that actually allows you to get the release. It just happens so late that you're like, holy cow, like, I feel like it's like, you know, maybe 5 frames after impact before I even feel it.
Right. And
that's why Hogan said he wanted 3 right hands too, of course.
But right. He just did. I mean, Hogan didn't talk about, like, Hogan didn't talk a ton about, like, the braced lead side.
No,
because
right. And that's like the biggest thing though, is it's like, man, like that piece of information from Mo though, like that honestly is like, that's legendary. And it's honestly like, timeless. It would help anybody's golf swing. Absolutely. I mean, it cannot do any harm.
It sucks that, I mean, you look at like a piece of information like that, and Mo Norman does not get enough respect. And for the people that are new to golf and
he's
that are just kind of coming into the game, he's, I mean,
one of the, look him up on YouTube. But.
Yeah, greatest ball striker. A little bit of a character and just like an interesting guy. Right, exactly. So, autistic. And but I mean, the best ball striker, like probably ever. Like Tiger Woods says, best ball striker of all time, Mo Norman.
Yeah.
So if Tiger's saying it, I mean, I would look him up and watch his stuff, because he really understood. Like when he does that drill where he takes the club and lets it fall, and you can actually see, like you're saying, the direction that butt end is pointing, and you can actually see it fall. It's like he understood that. I mean, now from there, I would say just maybe make sure you push down so it doesn't like fall too much, right? And tip the other way. But yeah, that's timeless instruction. So
it's all good info.
Yeah, it's all good info. Like the swing wall, like we talked about that a little bit. Walk me through like what the swing wall is.
The swing wall is just making sure that your lead arm and shoulder are working upward and tilt, opposed to backward, like straight backward
at impact
as you come through.
Okay.
I'll just say, like from the top of the swing, of course, your lead shoulder and trail shoulder should definitely be working, like trail shoulder under, lead shoulder up and back.
Right.
It's on like the 45, right? It's not completely vertical.
Right.
But like on a 45. And basically like when you get down to like your impact to post impact, the lead arm, or like we'll say this, almost like your lead shoulder just goes straight up a little bit, like feeling wise, or almost like a shrug, so that the lead arm can fully unrotate and get the full release perfect, which is what these top players that we talked about today are doing.
Got it.
And then from there, they can then ride that pressure to post impact. And then from there, how much they maintain that pressure is going to dictate how they get to their finish. And when you look at Cam Smith, when he poses at his finish, like he holds it for like 2-3 seconds.
Right.
And you look at his like trail palm to lead thumb knuckle, perfectly clawed.
The picture
and then
frame.
The elbows are perfectly still together. Like the arms are like the lead elbow is going to bend in the follow through from like I would say the longest you're going to keep it locked ever, even if you try, is going to be when it is parallel to the ground in the follow through. But from there, it's going to have to bend.
Right.
So, and some people let it again bend a little bit more, but as long as the elbow is bending back at your like the lead elbow to the lead shoulder has to work at a 90-degree angle, like on the 45.
See, that's the thing that's like lost, I feel like, in golf instruction, is that nobody's talking about how, like at post impact, the wrist action from there is like vertical. It's not like left and pulling the handle left. It's vertical.
The more you get this gear effect with the hands working at the bottom, the better your chances that everything works perfectly to the finish. But the magic is all pre to post impact.
Right. Like I look at, I mean, not trying to like say anything bad about like these instructors online and stuff, but I look at some of their students and yeah, they got them in like this good position with like flexion extension, max external, and then they're like squatting into the ground. But then you look at their finish and it's like, what are your
it's
hands are like not doing anything.
They're just telling them to get down to like pre-impact and then just let it happen. Just let it happen.
It's like, that's not what the best players are doing.
You got to be aware of what's going on after impact. I mean, honestly.
Like show me one tour player that finishes with their lead arm pulling like across their body. Everybody has that swing wall.
A little bit.
Yeah,
but
true.
See, this is but he has a bowed lead wrist and he pushes really well with his trail hand.
He pushes better than anybody.
But the idea is that we're not talking about these pros as much. We're talking more about just the general public
and like
what can work for the average golfer.
Correct.
Like what's going to be the best thing for them?
Exactly. Right. And that's where it's just, I don't know. It's why we're doing everything that we're doing with our content. And we're I mean, yeah, again, thank you for all the support we've been getting on all of our socials and TikTok and YouTube, and we're just getting started. Like we haven't even cracked the surface yet. Like we got, I mean, the golf code is a golf coat's big, and
Yeah,
we
we're,
have a
we're
lot
growing
of
everything in every way. Honestly, I know it's kind of been we're still like prolong. I mean, it seems like we're like prolonging things, but honestly,
right.
like we're just we got a lot of stuff we're handling right
Yeah,
now, and we're doing
absolutely.
what we can. But honestly, when it comes down to breaking the swing down, we're gonna have that out for you guys. Like in I'd say within the next like 2-3 weeks, like we're gonna just really have a thing where we walk you through every
Right.
single step of the
Correct.
golf swing.
Yes.
And it's gonna then like I think honestly some of our viewers that are maybe like finally like tell us what's going on. It's like actually then it'll make more sense that if you rewatched all the videos that we've already done,
Now it's like,
it
oh,
actually
okay.
brings everything to surface. Like,
Correct.
but it's hard like because it's been so much. So that's what we're just gonna try to do to make it easier for everyone to really understand.
Yeah.
But we like talking about the pros because no one's really doing it in the way that we're doing it. I feel like
I want
because
to,
it's just like
I want to keep doing it. Like
yeah, for
it's going to
sure.
be, I mean, we're not trying to do this methodology of like, oh, like do this crazy swing that no tour player's doing. It's like, no,
These are
we're going to
geometric
walk you through.
facts.
Yes. Geometric facts. I like that. It's like, we're going to walk you through like what every tour player's doing, like with Cam Smith, right? Like neutral grip, pushes really good in the takeaway, doesn't pull a ton. So the club just kind of gets a little bit kind of across the line a little bit, similar to kind of like a Scheffler or Cam Young.
Right.
And then from there, they increase and then
But
stick to
that lead
finish and
arm, like
rehinge.
in the
But
downswing position, when it's parallel to the ground, that's where they all have that perfect extension. There's not one tour player that has a bent lead elbow, I would say, at that point in their golf swing.
correct, because they're ball pushing to
They
get
all have
to
to get to there because if they don't get
correct.
there, they can't get to pre-impact, and that means they're gonna have a really bad time at like from pre to post.
Correct. Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. And that's the thing is that I don't really, I mean, we've consumed a ton of golf content and watched a lot, and we used to watch YouTube all the time,
Oh,
hours.
can't even tell you.
And exactly. And we never heard people like talk about the pro swings, like
In
and
this way
walk-
though,
right?
like
In this way.
yeah, we're not.
Yeah.
We just don't want to just talk about like kind of what they do in a sense of like, oh, they go a little like in and out, like or they like have a shallow path or a steep path. I mean, we're doing that in a way,
Right.
but we want to relate it to the claws. Like
Yes.
actually diving in more to actually truly how the stuff we're talking about they're actually doing, and that's what's not talked about.
Correct.
That's
Exactly.
the missing link, really.
Yes. It's the hand to handle to club relationship.
Right, exactly.
Like every tour
Bringing
player
it to
has
light more. The obvious again is there, and you can when you speak the obvious in the right way, it just clicks home easier in your brain.
Yeah.
Or sometimes it just takes some people like a little bit or like a little longer time for it to process to where it makes sense. But then once it is, you have that aha moment, and you're like, oh. Like,
Right.
when I was teaching golf, I can't tell you how many times like a student would be taking lessons for like 3 months. And then like all of a sudden in that lesson, like they're getting better the whole time. But then they're like, oh, like now I get what you're talking
Yes,
about with like
right.
pushing. But they're like, it's because my grip and I wouldn't focus on it enough. It's like,
yes.
bam.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. So yeah, the big thing is just really just having that awareness of like what are the best players in the world doing, right? Like we're gonna talk about as we kind of keep going through this, like we're gonna show you how Rahm does his swing, how we've talked about Rory today, Cam Smith. We'll talk about Tiger. Like nobody's really broken down Tiger 2000 with his claws, which was like really the like model golf swing for like the world. Like the
Right.
best you can ever really use the claws was like 2000, and I think 2005 he was pretty good too. He just had more of a weaker grip and like did more of the bow and like supination pronation.
But I think what we'll do
yeah.
is we'll also tie that into our model that we're going to walk you through with the positions of the golf swing. Like we're going to walk you through your takeaway, going up to your half, 3/4 full, and we're going to do it like we're going to talk you through the short game entirely.
Yes.
Different lies, everything. Putting, we're going to work through your driver, fairway woods, I mean everything. But we're going to break the swing down into sections and into like short game, mid game, and long.
Right.
And so we'll just do that for you. And then, but again, then being able to understand when you look at like these tour players that were analyzed, and you can see how close they are to the model that we're talking about.
Right.
And when you look at Tiger Woods back in 2000,
The model.
or actually, I'd say about 2002 to 3 was probably where
No.
he was pretty.
2003 he went through his little slump.
Oh,
Yeah.
So it was 2000.
Yeah,
Okay,
2000.
okay.
Like 2000,
My bad.
2001.
Yeah.
I mean, that was like,
yeah,
peak
when
Tiger.
he was working with Butch, like
Yeah.
he had the like pretty much the perfect move, I would say.
Yeah,
And there's a lot of people that, I mean, there's a lot that have come and gone that are very, very close to the perfect model as well. So
Mhm.
it's kind of cool to see that. And then to also understand like with some of these other, we'll say like some of the legends of golf, or even some of the new guys that are unique, like DeChambeau, like where do they fall in our model?
Oh, that'd be cool. Like,
So
I'd like
kind
to
of
talk
show
about
like kind of the unique swings, like Tommy Gainey, you know, like that's, I love Tommy
yeah,
Gainey though, because it's like, how do
Boo
you get such
Weekly.
a perfect, and Boo Weekly is one of my favorites too. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
and it'd be cool to just kind of bring some of the kind of the greats, like the all-time greats, like Gary Player and Arnold Palmer and all these guys, and talk about their claws and how they
Right.
use their claws. And I think that'll be some really cool content. And yeah, like I said, we're just getting started with this. Like this
Just
is
starts to make more sense, you
yeah,
know? And then again, when you watch golf yourselves, then you're gonna be able to understand by what
there
we're
it
talking about.
is.
It's like, oh, I'm seeing it now.
Yeah,
I'm seeing it
exactly.
now.
Exactly. So now yeah, watching golf is more enjoyable because you're not just like watching like mindlessly like, oh, look at like how much they're rotating. It's like, yeah, but like look at
Right.
their claws. Look
Right.
at their connection to the club. Look at how they have such good control of that hand to handle to club relationship. And that's
Mm-hmm.
what we're all about here.
Yep.
So, yeah, I'm excited. Like we got a lot of, I mean, the reason that we can't pump out as much content as I'd probably like is that, I mean, Claws and Effect is just one piece of what we're doing, right? I mean, this is kind
Well,
of the instructional
it's our
side.
main job. I mean, like, or I mean, it's not our main job, but it's like it's our main focus in a
Yeah,
sense. But we have
other
side
thing.
jobs right now, but we're
Well, no, I'm
working.
saying within Claw. Like, I mean, we've got, I
Oh
mean, with our
yeah. Well, right,
NFTs and
right,
we got,
yeah. We've
I
got so
mean,
many
we
things.
got,
Board game. We've got
oh,
like we got comic book. We've got all these things that we're gonna be doing. So
yeah,
it's everything's gonna blow up soon. It's just we're really getting close to being that point where we're about to blow up. It's just been a long time coming because we've been doing it on our own.
yeah.
And but we're trying to do all this, you know, and but we just want to hope that, you know, the message that we're sending is good enough to keep our
Yeah,
followers, you know, liking our stuff and
we
improving.
just, yeah, we want to
And
help people. Like that's,
yeah,
I mean, at the end of the day, like everything that we're building on the back end of Claw and their training aids and our patents that we're filing, and I mean,
right.
we got a lot of exciting things planned. So, yeah, we appreciate you kind of sticking with us. I mean, all the links are in the bio down below.
Yep.
If you want to kind of look at Dimples the golf ball and get to know him. He's going to be a big, big part of Claw Revolution moving forward. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Mascot pretty
yeah, he's
much.
kind of our little Mario.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we've got a lot of we want to make golf fun. We want to make it effective. And we want to make it yeah, just a better experience for everybody. And
Right.
that's what we're trying to do. So I appreciate everybody watching. Like I said,
Yep.
links are in the
Thank you.
bio. And yeah, we'll see you next time. Thanks.